Welcome to the 808s and Hot Takes podcast. This is a special episode. Not only is it the first episode, but it's also our first interview on the podcast. I'm here with a good friend of mine, JNabs Beats. Thank you for being here, man. How you doing?
Man, pretty good. Glad to be here.
All right. Well, I want to get your sort of story and everything familiar to the audience. So I guess let's just start with the basics. When did you start getting into music?
Man, I've always been surrounded by music. I grew up my parents were not very musical, but there was always music being played, and then I was the typical, had piano lessons, from middle school, played all the classical stuff, like Beethoven, Mozart, all that. But then I got into, high school, was in jazz band, started, listening to a lot of just different music, rap, like all the Carter albums, all that kind of stuff. And so I got into, kind of making beats. I had a keyboard. It was a Yamaha Motif XS8 that I would use to just like layer instruments on top of each other, and so that was like the first like beat I made. And then
do you remember what it was?
Man, it was not exactly. I know it was trash though, but it was funny because everyone in like band was like rapping and freestyling, and it was just like it was cool. So I was like, yeah. So I was like, man, this is like I'm onto something, and I knew I loved it. And it's weird. Music has been the only thing that I've never quit. Like my personality, I'm super obsessive about anything I do, and I think music's cool because you can never really master it. Like that was like one thing like I kind of love about it. So I just always have something to kind of get better at and grow at. And so that's what I really love about it,
Definitely.
But
when did music become less of a hobby for you, and when did you know this is what I want to do with my life,
Well, it kind of happened. I'm not saying out of necessity, but it became kind of clear to me, I would say the year after my freshman year in college. I went to LSU Baton Rouge, was kind of wilding out. And I was at first like in high school, like my parents were pushing me to do the doctor thing, but then I realized that I sucked at science. I was like, that's not going to work out. And then I was like, I'm going to go to law school and then become an entertainment lawyer so I can still like be in the music industry and all that stuff. But then then this stuff happened at LSU, and it just, I ended up leaving after a year. And so I was out of college, and had to make some stuff shake, you know what I'm saying?
Definitely.
And,
so how long has music been your like sole profession? It's been a couple years now, right?
Yeah, I would say a couple years now that I've been doing it. And have a couple different streams of revenue, just in the sense of I have a studio in town. It's on Texas Street in Shreveport. And I was doing sessions there for a long time. I'm actually let my partner kind of do a lot of that stuff now, but I was doing that for like a long time and just getting local artists to come in, like hooking them. And that was also a way to sell beats, so if they come in and need to record, it's like pull up a couple beats and, so I would make money that way, and then just kind of hitting up people on Instagram to buy beats, all that kind of stuff. And then I also DJ. And so, I was doing all the wedding DJ kind of stuff, and then like corporate events, little gigs here and there, karaoke, like whatever I could get my hands on just to make some money,
Definitely. You mentioned all these different streams of revenue, and they all come back to music in some sort of different way. So I guess I want to ask, going forward or for the future, do you see yourself kind of honing in on one of those things and really focusing on DJing or really focusing on making beats over the others? Or do you think that being multifaceted in what you're putting out is kind of what you're going for?
I think today, or just if you really want to be successful and generate like wealth. And I guess like to me, like, yeah, my goal like in term long term is financial freedom and the ability to, live on my own terms, and the ability to, help people with their music and just like put people in positions to win. And so to do that, you kind of have to have multiple streams. And I think if you're not, you're kind of limiting yourself.
Definitely.
So like, I want to DJ and have that, but I also want to have a few online businesses, in place to where I have steady, income coming in. I want to also, like, one of my goals by the time I'm 25 is to own a 16 unit apartment complex. And so that will be like another stream of revenue, you know. And so that's why,
Definitely
yeah,
following the Nipsey Hussle, Rick Ross real estate blueprint.
yeah, exactly. Like all those people are smart. Like they don't do that for no reason, Like most of the people that you see that are kind of like on that mogul type, just like boss type stuff, they have multiple streams. They never limit themselves to one stream, because if something happens, with that one stream, like if for some reason I couldn't DJ, due to health reasons or something like that, it's like then I have no money. You don't want to be
Yeah,
dependent. You don't want to be dependent on one stream, And so I would encourage anyone listening and anyone just in general to, definitely diversify yourself in terms of your income if possible.
a lot of what, going off of that piece of advice, a lot of what your brand is now on Instagram and social media more broadly, you're putting out a lot of advice, free game, in terms of here's industry contact list of people in the industry you could contact. Here's a good software for uploading music to streaming services that's better than TuneCore. I've seen you put out a lot of different videos sort of giving advice to upcoming artists. So why do you think that it's important for that to be a part of your brand? Or why have you incorporated advice into some of the content that you're putting out?
Man, one, just like a principle thing for me, I want to be someone that I would follow. I think that that's a thing, and just like anyone who's creating content or just posting on Instagram, like if you came up on your page, would you follow you? And so
Yeah,
like anything I post, I try to make it to where like it would, when I was first starting, like when I was in high school, trying to make beats or figure this stuff out, I would like to see. And I also think, just in general, like as a big point, I think giving away free game and free stuff in general these days is critical to big business.
in
I mean, you
terms of
see every
networking or what?
both. So you see like people like Gary Vee doing this. What he's building is for the long term in terms of or let me back up. In terms of giving away free stuff, I'm playing the long term game. A lot of people will just try to get quick sales. I could try to just like hit up people for beats and all that kind of stuff. But what I'm trying to build is, brand equity. I'm trying to build where people trust me, as like a person in the industry. And so the way to do that, I think, is to give away free stuff, free game, free beats. That's why I'm in the process of setting up some stuff to where artists and producers will get free resources. I'm going to be giving away free beats to artists and free like little marketing tips or lessons, kind of courses that I'm putting together about how to do certain things. And so what I want to do with that is, one, build relationships, build trust, to where it's like, if I gave an artist 50 beats for free, like they're obviously going to trust me than the guy who just like comes up to me and is like, hey, I want 250 for this beat. You know what I'm saying? It's like,
Yeah,
hey, bro, like I don't know you, like you don't know me. Like you haven't done anything for me, like at all. And so I want to be the person to where I give proportionately more than I receive,
yeah,
because Gary Vee talks about in his book, he's like jab, jab, left hook. And his like point of that is to uh, give, and then ask, only after you've kind of put in the time necessary to like build rapport, build up your relationship with your customer, you know.
definitely.
And so that's really it, man. It was just like to help build brand, help build relationships, and just give people value, because I think value is the name of the game these days. And just, I'm trying to really trade off of value, and the more value I can give to people in exchange, I think the better position, I will be in long term. You know,
Definitely. I have two
yeah.
things going off that. The first is, where can people follow you?
Uh, Yeah, my Instagram is at JNabs Beats. So JNabs is JNabs Beats. JNabs Beats. And so then I also have a Facebook page that's also JNabs Beats. And then I also have a YouTube channel, also JNabs Beats. It's kind of just all under the same thing. So I would say I'm the most active on Instagram. I'm about to start posting on YouTube a lot, but
Definitely.
those are, I would say Instagram is the best place because that's where I post a lot of my content at this time.
And
You know,
what this my second thing going off that it's more substantive than just the logistical question. Uh,
sure.
what would you say to people who find your page or whatever and say, who is this guy who's still up and coming giving advice? Like, why would I take advice from someone that's still trying to make it themselves?
So a lot of my like content and stuff is documenting like some of these things like I'll learn like a week before. Like I posted a video today and like there was an article last week about Spotify acquiring a company called Sound Better, which is basically like Fiverr or Upwork, which are freelance companies um, for musicians. And so on there you can go and find mix engineers who have mixed for Future or The Weeknd, or like session musicians who have played with like Kanye or Alicia Keys. And, it's not about, I think, being the best. It's just like, let's say if you're like on a scale of expertness, quote unquote, I know that's a bad word, but on the like 1 to 10, it's like any of those people out there, if you're even a 5 or 6, or a 3, you still can give advice to the 1s and 2s or the people just starting out. You don't have to be
Definitely.
a 10. You don't have to be a 10, to be able to give advice that would help someone. Because like I know if I'm dealing and like struggling with things or like learning how to like mix or learning how to network and all that stuff, I know someone else out there is, and if I can at least make them 1% better at their craft or what they do, then I think that's valuable. And I think it's just also preferable like to the alternative. It's just like what's the alternative? Just wait until you're blown up and then start telling people, stuff.
Yeah.
I would rather, and I think like part of me goes back to like the brand equity. It's like if people like look at me and they were like, dude, this dude since he was at 1,200 followers or however many, and like wasn't big, has been just giving out game. It's like that's gonna make it even more powerful, when I do get to where I'm trying to go.
Exactly. It's almost like people will be able to document what you were learning and what you were going through at the time before you blew up or whatever. Going back, you know, when this starts to work out and gets rolling more, people will be able to go back and see what exactly you were doing on the come up or during that process. So I think that's definitely an aspect of it that I hadn't thought about that is definitely valuable.
Yeah, I think documenting in general is the key, like number one thing for content creation these days and for any platform. I think just document stuff. Like document your life, document what you're going through. And even if you get like, and just don't care about views or anything, just keep going, like keep being persistent, keep getting better, and one day all that stuff is going to be really valuable, and to you and to your audience. And it's kind of like you have to take those steps first to even like you're not going to get big unless you first take those steps. It's kind of like in the gym, it's a process.
So what would you say to the artist who or the content creator who keeps putting stuff out but keeps getting 10, 15, 20 views? What would,
So, I mean, there are a couple things I would say. If you haven't tried something for at least 6 months, I would say 4 to 6 months, I would say, and you're still not getting any traction, um, then I would say I have a couple things I would do. One of the things I do is look at what's working. So like I'll go on big people like Steven Cymatics, Drew Cymatics, Kato the producer, who are like big people in your niche, and kind of look at what they're doing, like look at their page and look at the way they structure their content and kind of what they're doing, and then look at your stuff. And if it's not kind of similar or at least like on the same playing field, that's your reason why you're not, because you're not giving, of equal or similar value to what other people can find better value elsewhere. And so to kind of, I also think the more you make I think a lot of people that are getting those 10 to 15 likes, at least what I see, they're making it about them.
Mhm.
And I think the problem is, I think the people who win make it about others. Like I think they make it about their customer. That's why with all my content, like I hardly ever post like a selfie. I don't post pictures of me flexing. It's like no one wants to see that from me. Like I'm not big. Like I don't have, all that stuff. But what I can do is give advice or information that I think other people would find valuable, and help them make better music, make better marketing decisions, And so I think that would be my advice is to those people is examine, are you making it about yourself or about other people? I think that's big. And then consistency. If you have not posted consistently for at least 4 to 6 months, like you don't even have enough data to kind of go off of, and I think that would be a reason.
So do you think people need to be
successful.
posting daily, or do you think that clogging up the timeline is something that could negatively affect someone as well?
Okay, so this is a big debate. My personal opinion, kind of similar to Gary Vee and stuff. I think quantity over quantity. I think the more content you can post these days, the better. I think the more you can get yourself out there, the better it is for you, because one, the marketplace is moving so fast these days. Like you have people dying and people forget about it in like a day or two. Like Instagram, all these platforms are so fast. It's like, so even if you post every day, it's like, some people aren't going to see it. Others are going to see it. It's just getting your face like in the Explore page as much as possible, like getting it out there. And then I also think something kind of funny and interesting happens when you post all the time is your quality inherently is going to get better the more you do it.
Yeah.
And
It's just
so
practice.
I think, right, it's just practice. Like with me, like the more I'm posting and like creating content, like the better I'm getting at, learning how to format stuff, like messing with different kind of, fonts, like video editing techniques, all this stuff. But if I don't go through this process, like if I was only like, man, I'm going to post 3 videos on Instagram this entire year, it's like, I don't know what to do. I haven't put in the work and gone through the process, And I also think the cool thing about quantity is you figure out what works and what doesn't. So if it's almost like a science experiment, like if you have 100 videos, you have a lot of data to go off of, of like, okay, this video did well, this video didn't do well, so you kind of get a feel for what works and like for your audience, and what do people want to see from you.
So are you a fan of the fact that quantity has sort of taken over the way people think about marketing, or is it just something that you've noticed and adjusted to, and it's the way that you're doing it now?
Yeah. So I've been influenced so much by people like Gary Vee on this because, back in the day, I didn't even want to do Instagram. Like my personal opinion, like I just wanted to make music. I wanted to just like sit in my bedroom, not doing stuff. But you kind of realize, the market doesn't care about what you want. The market is what it is. So I would say it's not like, man, I would love to not, be on Instagram and just focus on the music and all this stuff. But I think it's just the way it is. And I think if you're not on these platforms in 2019, you're going to be drastically behind in terms of business because there are other people that are putting out, tons of content, tons of useful information for other people. And so, if you just look at the chips, it's like you're going to lose and you're going to fall behind, if you aren't taking advantage of these platforms.
Definitely. You've spoken a lot about brand equity throughout our conversation. So I wanted to ask, what is JNabs Beats as a brand now? And going forward, what would you like to see it become?
I think JNabs Beats now is just an everyday guy who makes music and is on a journey to, reach the world with his music and provide value to, upcoming artists and producers. That's like it, I would say now in terms of the brand. The more I grow, I would like to I would almost like, I think like sort of like a Diplo kind of thing, I think would be cool. Cause I know we've talked about, I really want to get into the DJing stuff, all that. And so, yeah, kind of like just the DJing, kind of the production. I'm still trying to figure it out, to be honest.
Yeah,
and like
definitely.
these are things like it's okay for me not, and that's what for people out there, it's okay to not 100% know, like kind of exactly where you're going to go, because I think a lot of the times if you just do work and just keep doing stuff, I think the path kind of becomes more clear, depending on like what opportunities come up. Like there could be an opportunity that comes up, that may steer me in a certain direction, or and so
Definitely.
just
You want to keep
yeah.
all doors open, and I feel like having a set determined like this is what it has to become could hinder it from becoming something else that's better. So I think
Right,
it's a good
exactly.
thing for you not to have, an endpoint in sight just yet.
Right, exactly. Yeah, I completely agree. I think that's great for people. I just think the one thing you people can afford to do is not do anything. Like I think that's the worst thing, someone can do, is just be paralyzed, by like be like, I don't know what I want to do, so I'm just not going to do anything. You know,
Exactly. And
I think
I mean, this podcast is something that's been in the works in my mind for about a year now. And actually going through the process of doing these interviews, recording, learning to edit, editing, all of that stuff, creating social media platforms for the podcast is terrifying because you wonder to yourself, does anyone care, or will I just look stupid to like the people that know me, that have me on social media and stuff like that? So what would you say to people who are worried about their image or don't take those leaps and put out content because they're worried that they will annoy people that are on social media that know them or whatever?
um can we cuss on, are we cussing
Yeah,
on this
yeah,
or no?
yeah.
No
You're all
cussing?
good.
Okay. Okay. Man, I this used to be me, so I can like really speak to this. I would say to those people, you just have to not give a fuck. Like I know it sounds simple, but just like not give a flying fuck what those people think about you, because those people are only saying that to you because they're too scared to do it themselves.
Mm,
Um, I think that's what it comes down to. And it's also those same people that when you do get to where you're going are going to be like, act like they were there for you the whole time. I know we were talking about this the other day, but I think that is so true. And I think you kind of just have to have these blinders on and just like confidence in yourself and your process, and like, where you're going. And it's okay if, other people don't see the vision. Like,
Going off that conversation we were having the other day, I wanted to ask, have you already started to sort of notice that change in people's energy where like maybe in high school or something like that, you weren't getting attention or were viewed as like, not cool for doing the music stuff. But as soon as you start putting out content and getting some traction, even though you're not a huge celebrity yet, I'm sure people have started to change up how they interact with you when they see you around town and stuff like that.
oh yeah, dude, shit is so fucking funny, man. Yeah, like so many people from high school, either like DMing me or like, dude, like I see you doing your thing, bro. Like keep it up. Like I respect, or like the number of people that when they heard like I went to Boosie's house and did all that stuff, like instantly, like I was cool. Like I was in there, but before then it was just like, nope, you know what I'm saying?
That's a
And
great,
so,
that is actually a great segue into a question that I wanted to get into, which was that we've been talking a lot about what's in the future and what you're doing now, but just for the listeners that aren't as familiar with, your journey or your catalog or whatever you want to call it thus far, what are some milestones or accomplishments that you've already had that you're really proud of? And kind of made you want to keep going and get more?
man, so one, got a chance to work with Lil Boosie, go up to his house in Atlanta, when his house was there. I know he built a new one, but
When was this?
that was that was probably 3 to 4 years ago. Like, so it's been a while
Like
on that one. That was
2016, 2015?
Yeah, that was like my first kind of like doing something major and like getting like a kind of bird's eye view into the industry, quote unquote, you know. And
What did you learn
that
from
was
that experience?
Man, I learned a lot. I learned that no one's gonna do your business for you. No one's trying to look out for you, in the music industry. Um, People are not looking to always do you right, regardless of how big they are, how even if they have the means to. And so, um, yeah, like if you want to do your business right, take care of it yourself, and make sure that's, squared away.
Yeah.
But I also learned that even like this is for someone who, like, let's say you do get screwed, um, it's okay, because that opportunity, is still valuable. I can still say I did that, regardless of me if I got a check or not. for any of that kind of work. So I would say those are some things I learned.
Some subtle shade at Boosie on the podcast.
Yeah, I wouldn't really say it was his fault. Like I don't think like I didn't demand money or anything. Like it was kind of, like he didn't go out of his way, but I didn't go out of my way. So I think it's like more on me. I would say it's more on me than him.
You came in there without demanding anything, so
exactly. Which looking back, like I actually think was the right way to go about it at that time. Like I think that's another thing. Like going back to the free stuff, at the beginning, bro, if you get an opportunity to work with Boosie, do it for free.
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
Or like don't haggle him about money, because like the second you get a track with someone big, it's like, okay, now you have more brand equity, like that kind of thing. Like people are going to trust you, like look at you different, So that's why I would go at the beginning. If you're not popping on social media or anything, I would do as much as possible for free. Give away as many beats for free. Get as many people on your songs for free.
That's interesting, because I was kind of thinking about this the other day in a different context. You see lawsuits happen all the time because someone will claim that they like helped co-write a song but didn't get masters on it or didn't get a percentage or whatever. But it seems like that is a really short time frame understanding of like making things work. Like you could go get engaged in this lawsuit and sue someone for not giving you equity on a song that you may have wrote, or you could work with that person again and continue to make good songs. Or if you are such a great writer, it could lead to other opportunities. Whereas it seems like suing someone over something like this would kind of limit your ability to get hired as a co-writer in the future, because you're seen as someone who is a liability or will go after more than what they are seen as being, more than you contributed. Often people are going after amounts of money that are more than what they contributed to the song. So it seems like they would kind of be blackballed from co-writing with people after that.
Oh yeah, that's a whole different conversation. Like being out in LA, seeing the writing process, dude, people are fucking crazy with that shit, man, for real. Like people will be in a room and just like be like, oh man, change the Gucci flip flop line to like LV flip flops. You know what I'm saying? And then like that
150.
Yeah, and then like you're like, bro, I didn't even give a fuck if you were in the room. Like
you were just there, like, chilling.
Exactly, and it's like, dude, like I could have said Gucci flip flops, and the song still would have been dope. Like LV did not fucking make the song. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I've seen a lot of lawsuits about just like random shit like that.
Yeah, but to go back to your point about people. Yeah, like with the lawsuits are trying to, I think it also goes back to just what position are you in? Like, I think a beginning writer, it's not good to do stuff like that. I mean, I would say I don't know, if it's a huge record, like if you had a song with Beyonce or something, it's like, dude, you need to try to get in my opinion, I would try to get that money. Because, most of those instances, they do people, I would say, right, because they have the budgets, like they're already kind of expecting, to like pay for certain things. But I think if you're a big writer, like for someone like Pooh Bear, who's written for like Justin Bieber, a lot of people, it's like, I think he should get, or he's going to get his money because he has a huge, like, he always legal team in place and stuff.
Yeah, but, exactly. Like if you're someone that's already established yourself in the industry, I see no problem with being like, no, I helped with this song, give me my money. But if you're someone that doesn't have a lot of connections already, it seems like burning the bridge on the one connection you had for a quick check that is not going to last you that long, compared to, if you had kept a good relationship, you could have gotten more long-term thing. It seems like it's just a short-term way of understanding making money on one song versus establishing yourself long-term in the industry.
Yes. Yeah. I think that's a problem, I would say, with a lot of people I see, kind of going back to like those people who, the same people who get 10 to 15 likes are the people that would do that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
you know what
exactly.
I'm saying? And
it's like not working, so it's a quick come up.
Yeah, everyone, dude, everyone is about the quick come up. No one's about the long grind. No one's about like, okay, I'm gonna be set by the time I'm 30. Really set. Everyone's like, even like I would say, I don't know 100%, but just speaking from like what I have seen, like rappers, all this stuff. It's all about the quick come up, the quick flex, quick buying cars, cashing out on shit. Like that's why you see so many people going broke. Like there was a series, I think Complex or not, or someone did it. They were like interviewing people like Jaquan or Mims. It's like there are reasons why you never heard from Mims. It's because like,
he took "This Is Why I'm
spending,
Hot" and took it to the bank.
yeah, exactly. People like spending money on just instead of like, like what I want to do. Like I want to look like I may buy maybe a few things, man, but like I wanted to invest most of the money I get. Like I think I want to look the same,
Yeah,
like relatively the same as when I did when I was like I just want to be a normal guy, with abnormal habits,
yeah,
and abnormal like work ethic and just be smart about stuff and not be in it for the short term money,
exactly. Yeah. And
Yeah.
I feel like when people first get a little taste of success, it's hard to convince them not to splurge a little bit, but it's definitely better to
Yeah.
save and invest and reinvest back in yourself.
Exactly. And that's one thing like I want to be in terms of the real estate, like all that kind of stuff going back to that. Like that's why I want something like that so bad. It's cuz like Grant Cardone said this dude has over $1 billion in real estate. He's like he made a video talking to all the rappers and stuff and he's like, "Guys, I'm not against the toys. Like I got the G-Wagons, I got the Rolls Royces and stuff, but I didn't use my money to buy them."
Yeah,
Like if he has 7,000 apartments, and people pay him rent every month, it's like those people just paid for his G-Wagon,
yeah,
and
exactly.
they're gonna pay him again next month. And so I want to use other people's money to buy my toys and all that stuff, but I don't want to just have okay, it's like okay, I've saved up 100 grand, let me go drain it and then like not have a way like guaranteed way to just like, re-up quote
And
unquote or get my money
and
back up.
especially buying something that depreciates in value. So it's
Exactly. Yeah,
literally
that
just
has
no point.
yeah, it's like if you go buy a fucking Bugatti, like or any of that stuff, instantly when you drive it off, like goes down, in worth. Like if you go buy a huge mansion, it's like no one's paying you for that. You're paying, all the expenses, all the like electric, all that, like the note, any of that kind of stuff. Like it doesn't give you anything, in terms of financial
So say
value.
you got an $1 million check, what would you do with it?
I would go buy, probably buy a 32 unit apartment complex. Honestly, I would do that. I would also take some of it and pour it into a couple of my online businesses in terms of just infrastructure and marketing, all that kind of stuff. And then those would be my main focuses,
Yeah,
depending on, yeah, like that's what I would do. And like I would not, and I may go buy something cool, maybe like a little something, but I'm not about to go spend like 80 grand on a watch or something like
yeah,
that.
facts.
It might be like a 2,000 or $5,000, something like that. That's like, you know, just nice or something, but I'm not about to go just like go stupid on it.
Speaking of, back to the conversation of just the accomplishments and milestones that you've already completed, you have a song out right now that's kind of popping, correct?
Yeah, that's
Tell
actually
us about
that's
it
crazy.
because we're 30
So
minutes in. We haven't even talked about any of your actual music yet.
yeah, it's crazy, man. So we have a song called "Feel So Good," and that's with a lot of my good friends. Sanaj is his artist name, but his real name is Judah Jones. The other one is Lance Thompson, and then DeWitt Jones, who's Judah's brother. We all made that song together, and it was crazy because that song we made it. My mom has an insurance agency. We and I kind of like set up a little studio. She had like a back room, and we set up like a little studio, and we made that song in that back room of the insurance building. And yeah, it's over I think almost 2.5 million listen or streams on Spotify right now,
So,
which is
where can
crazy.
people can listen to it on Spotify and where else? Is it everywhere?
Uh, yeah, Spotify, Apple Music, Title,
And
I think
how
all
do you
that
spell
stuff.
Sinaj, just for people trying to look for it for the
Um,
first time?
yeah, Senoj,
S E
and the
N O
song is
J.
called yeah, and the song is called "Feel So Good." And it's crazy, like how like I didn't even like the song was cool, but it's really like the ones I feel like you never know basically like what's gonna pop or what people are gonna like, and
Definitely.
that's another thing like about putting out stuff, it's like quality at the end of the day is subjective, you know, in terms of art, in terms of all this stuff. It's like, who says something, you know, is bad quality? Because like, I mean, last time I checked, people like X, like a couple years ago, we would have thought that shit was terrible. Like, it was like, dude, this is really distorted. It sounds like trash. But that shit was huge. Like, created a whole different, you know, thing.
Definitely.
And so, like, never be afraid to try use something, you know, different. And just that's why, like, just putting out as much stuff as possible, because the market is going to tell you whether it's good or not. You know, you never know, basically. And so that's why I would just tell people, like, if you're thinking about, you know, you're scared to release music, or I just put it out. Like, what's the worst that could happen? You know, like, you have everything to gain, you know, nothing to lose but your ego and your pride.
Exactly.
You know, I think that's like the pride and stuff is what keeps people from doing that, and just, you know, the insecurity and like fear of what people think, kind of like what we were talking about.
What
earlier.
was your role in the song? Are you technically the producer, or?
Yeah, I produced the track.
Okay, nice.
Yeah, and then. Yeah, that's basically it. And we just like, we'll all, I love the way we all like write together though. Like, we'll write and then kind of just all produce it. It's just like a vibe. Like, that's just like, that's the way I like to do it. I really don't like, honestly, just like sending tracks. Like, the best sessions or any of that kind of stuff for me are with, like, when I'm with an artist and we just start from nothing. We have an empty session and we just start building, you know, and then like,
Definitely.
when you're done, like, the song is done. I think someone who's really capitalized on that is JNabs Beats.
Yeah.
Like, someone like that, he is on the rise, and I've been watching so much of his stuff. He does that. He loves
that. His
I
YouTube series is amazing.
Right. Yeah, I think people love that, and I think, like, you know, more people like putting out that kind of content is, you know, would be so dope.
I forget the name of the series, but if y'all haven't checked that out, definitely go check it out. JNabs Beats has an entire series on YouTube where people just come in his studio with him. He'll, you know, make the beat from square one with them there, and then, you know, they'll give input and then eventually freestyle over it when it's done. It's like a 10-15 minute video, but it's really cool in terms of like looking at the process, even if it is a lot of the time more of like a simple beat or something like that. It is very cool to watch that process in the studio go down. And just one more thing, I hear a lot of people say that, you know, in studio sessions where you're together with the artist is a lot better than sending tracks. But do you think that you can thrive in a marketplace where music is mostly done, you know, not in person, but you're sending stuff back and forth?
Real quick, that name of that series is called The Cave.
The Cave.
Just for anyone listening. Yeah, The Cave. And so, to answer your question, I think it is possible. I just think it's a lot harder, especially to do it if you don't have a big brand.
Yeah.
Like, if it's a lot easier. It's like, okay, like, we got a Metro Boomin pack coming in of 12 beats. It's like, those artists are going to jump to that like immediately and go get it. But if you're a no name, you know, like, they have all these other huge producers, you know, that have beats in their email. So it's like, why would they go to yours? You know, it's like way harder to capture attention like that. So I mean, I think it's somehow possible, but I don't think I think it's a lot harder. I think it's an uphill battle.
So in a world where it's hard to get your stuff looked at in an email where, you know, Zaytoven, Metro, Pierre Bourne, all of them have beats sitting in these artists' emails or whatever. How is securing a live session with some of these people? How is that easier than doing it over just email or whatever?
I wouldn't even. I don't even know how to answer that. Let me see. I'm trying to figure out how the best way to answer that question, because it's just not my focus.
Yeah.
Basically, like, so it's hard for me. Like, my focus is building my brand to where they will come to me. Like, I think like building up your value kind of to where, like, I'm not chasing placements. I'm not like begging people to get on my tracks. I'm building up my brand. Like, I'm giving away stuff for free to get attention, you know, to get like eyeballs on, you know, my stuff, because, you know, and then like they'll be more likely to get on my tracks and all that kind of stuff in the future, you know. I would say for anyone trying to get placements, though, you have to go to where these people are at. Like where are this big studio sessions happening with these artists? So like LA, New York, Toronto, Atlanta. I think if you're really trying to play the placement game, I think you have to go to one of these places. Like almost 99 to 100%, you have to go to one of these places if you're really trying to play the placement game. And you need to get out and network, like get to know the engineers at these studios. I think knowing the engineer at a studio is one of the best things you can do, because a lot of times artists will come into the studio and they'll be like, man, pull up some beats. And guess who pulls up the beats? The engineer. And so if you know the engineer, and you build a relationship, they might throw in some of your beats, to an artist, and you could get a placement out of that, so like stuff like that. Getting to know managers, getting to know A&Rs, I think all that stuff is valuable.
One sec. Yeah, sorry, my mic cut out for a second. I'll edit that. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can.
Okay, cool. Going off of that, you live in Louisiana now, but you spent a good amount of time in LA. How did you go about that, and what was your strategy for going out there and trying to just make a name for yourself?
Man, so I've been a couple times now. The first time was with Willie Jones. He's another guy from Shreveport, and he had invited us to come out there with him, and we got in some writing sessions for Warner APG, which is a publishing company out there. And so that was cool, just tried to make dope music. That's where I learned, and I didn't have the same mindset then as I do now. And so I think I could have played that a lot better, looking back. I think I could have really tried to build better relationships and like stayed in contact with people.
When were you out there last?
I was out there last January and February of this year. I was out there for 2.5 months, so a little bit of March as well. And that was with a guy named Sam Jones. He's an actor. People may know him from Blue Mountain State or Smallville. And that relationship had actually come. We were with Willie, and his management has a series of studios and whatnot. So we were doing sessions with all their artists, or a couple artists. Like they were basically just getting us to like make as many beats as possible. We were waking up, working for 14 hours a day. And Sam was one of the artists that, had a session, and we just hit it off instantly. And he really, just fucked with us and like what we kind of had going. So he invited us personally to go out there, flew us out, and we just worked on, music for him and stuff.
Did y'all record a full project?
We recorded, we ended up having like 25 to 30 songs, and he's still in the process of getting all the videos and all that stuff done, but I'm hoping that some of that will be out pretty soon, in the next, I would hope month or two, but
definitely. So be on the lookout for that Sam Jones album project.
Yeah.
Is it a mixtape album?
I honestly don't. I think he might put out a couple singles first, which like is kind of a strategy a lot of people are doing. I don't 100% know.
Definitely.
That's ultimately up to him, and he has a distribution deal, so they're ultimately up to all him and his team. So
so we will definitely keep y'all updated on that, both JNabs on his social media, and when it's out, we'll definitely talk about it on the podcast.
For sure. Yeah. And just like a little note about, I think that I learned about the Sam thing is just really care. Yeah, it always goes back to like just genuinely caring about people. And because that's what, like, one thing he loved about us was that, like, especially in these places like LA, everyone's just trying to use people. Everyone's trying to just like extract people for what can I get? And I think like what attracts people are like, you can really attract people by just giving without this expectation of receiving something. And like, I think people are really like taken aback by that. And I think it makes you just 100% like more attractive, and just, in just like a relationship real sense. And then also like just in a business sense as well. It's like, why would you not want to work with someone like that who just like really has your best interests at heart, and just, really cares about you as a person. And, I think like that's also like just a studio kind of tip about just, and I think that's why in studio sessions are better, because you never know like what artists are going through. So it's like, if you can kind of understand what they're feeling at the time, you can kind of craft some music, that specifically kind of really captures that feeling,
Is
and I think
there Yeah, is there any advice you would give for being able to tell if someone genuinely has your best interests at heart or if they're just trying to use you? Because, I mean, in music and in
yeah.
life in general, there are a lot of people that are very good at seeming like they have your best interest at heart, but ultimately they're just trying to get what they can get out of it. So, is there any way that sort of you've gone about creating a system of evaluating someone to see like if they're willing to give also, like how do you tell if someone is on the same wavelength you are, in terms of it's not all about what you can get out of it, it's about what you can contribute mostly.
Right. Man, I could say a lot of fancy stuff. Like I've been reading. A lot of people have read this, so the 48 Laws of Power, which is basically
Yeah,
how to deceive people. But it's also like one thing I use it is just like how to detect deception. Like how do you do that? But at the end of the day, man, I really think just your gut. I think a lot
yeah,
of times, like deep down, man, like you can kind of tell if people are like on the fence or kind of just like like sometimes like it'll just seem forced and like weird and like I think just trusting your gut because like anytime that I've gotten screwed like fucked over, I've known deep down I just like there was something they were dangling in front of me that I just really wanted and like wanted to believe that it was there or possible or real. And so I just think following your gut, you know at the end of the day is like the best strategy to not get fucked, but also not fearing getting fucked because realizing like it's going to be okay if you do. Like most people that are big have gotten screwed over at least, once or twice, or what I'm saying.
what's the
And
most common way to like get fucked over in terms of being a producer and trying to establish
um,
this stuff?
I would say people, yeah, like making songs on your beats and not paying you, just saying fuck you. Like I feel like that's the most common I hear about, at least.
Yeah.
Um, but as I said, like sometimes that shit can really work out in your favor. Like for instance, I know Taz Taylor, um, shout out to him. He's CEO of Internet Money, which is a group of super producers out in LA. They've produced for everyone like Juice World X, um,
Mm.
just anyone, basically like Drake. I think just a lot of different people, and they were smart about it. Like there was one song. I think Nick Mira, who's one of his producers, he produced for Juice World. I think it was either Lucid All Girl. I think All Girls Are the Same, and so he put out the song, didn't pay him or anything. They waited till that song blew up, bro, and then they taxed the fuck out of his ass. Like, you know,
You
uh,
hate to see it.
like when that song blew up, it's like okay, now they have leverage coming in the room. It's like okay, we made the beat, but if they had like from the beginning, like you don't even know if Juice WRLD would have put out this song. If they had been like, hey, we need money, for this beat before it got big. He may have just
Yeah,
decided to shelf the song, but instead they played it smart,
definitely.
waited, and then I think they got like 40 or 50,000 up front plus like royalties for that fucking beat.
So that
And
kind of
so
goes back to the earlier conversation that we were having, that established producers or writers or whoever can take the risk of going to the legal system to get what they're owed out of their song. But if
right,
those people had been up and coming, it might not have been that useful to go try to fight for your Juice World royalties.
yeah, for sure.
But it definitely was for them. I mean, that song was fucking huge.
Exactly. Yeah. But so yeah, they played that so smart. And that's someone I respect so much in business, Taz Taylor. Um Definitely like if you're a producer, go peep game from him because he's definitely like an OG in the game, and doing big stuff.
So what else is on the horizon for JNabs?
So my friend and I, Kate Anderson, we're starting a DJ group called It's Okay. And we're about to in 3 or 4 weeks kind of embark on a journey just across the country. We're gonna start in Austin, go up to Colorado, and then LA, maybe New York after that. But we're just gonna be creating. We're gonna be documenting, our journey. We'll have a vlog out and then like an Instagram page, all that kind of stuff. And we're gonna be trying to get gigs and pulling up at fraternities, pulling up at sororities, or college campuses and stuff, and then also clubs and stuff, just trying to get our name out there. And we're also going to be just talking to people on the ground about our brand is kind of centered around mental health is kind of like what we want to do. And we just want to make, music that kind of makes people feel like it's okay, and realizing that just life is kind of fucked up for everyone. Everyone's going through some shit. The cliche kind of like everyone's going through some shit, but it's like just so real, and just kind of talking to people on the ground, like about their views on mental health, kind of what they think. And so we're going to be interviewing people, and then posting those kind of like experiences, on our page, and just kind of trying to create a community for people to kind of share those experiences kind of in a safe space, while also like, hopefully like making some dope music.
Yeah, that's dope. How
and so that
do you think there's a way to center that message in the shows themselves, or is it just about creating the music that makes people think it's okay just because the music like sort of
I think the whole brand is going to we're going to try to make it about that.
That's dope.
And I think like also like it kind of goes with the documenting. Like there will probably be some non-pretty moments. Like I'm also like the quality, like, is not going to be the best out there because, I'm still learning how to video edit and all that kind of stuff. But I can guarantee you, like by the end of our journey, like I'm going to be a lot better, like quality's going to be better. So, just embracing that, like, I don't want to say like shittiness, but like embracing the process and just, where we're at today. And that's kind of what we just want to encourage other people to do that, like you may be going through shit, today, like it may not, but like there is, hope, like there is possibility for life, and for, true joy, as opposed to like short-term happiness, basically.
That's dope.
And so we want to, exemplify that with the music, but also just like our brand and just like our messaging and all that kind of stuff.
So how long do you expect to be on the road for this particular venture?
We don't know. Like that's kind of the crazy part. We're just kind of
cool, honestly.
Yeah, we're just jumping off the ledge, kind of just we want to just really go for it. And because I never see like a lot of people documenting their journey of trying to make it, and that's kind of something like we want to do.
Yeah,
is like
I think it's
most people just or my bad.
No,
yeah.
You go first.
Yeah, most people start out like you just like people will come on the scene and they're popping and huge, and you're like, oh my gosh, but like almost all those people have a story and years, if like not more, of just like work and effort, and like people like you. I know that there's one meme or just a post about that's going around that you'll see like everyone started at 0 or like 1 or 100. Like it'll have like Zed, Alinium, Skrillex, and it'll have like times on their Facebook page where they're like, hey, let's get this song to 1,000 plays.
Yes, I've seen a bunch of old tweets from like J. Cole and stuff that's like, I just got 1,000 followers, and that's
exactly. Yeah. And see, so I think that's kind of, we want to document all that. Like, that's the part we want to document. That's like, yeah, we're starting this Instagram account from 0.
Yeah.
Like from nothing, like our YouTube channel will have 0 subscribers.
That's one thing I had to debate with myself about for the podcast. Should I just delete everything off my Instagram, change the name to the podcast Instagram, so I have my already set of followers and just to force them to follow the Instagram account basically by changing it? Or do I start a new one and start from 0? And I started a new one and started from 0. And I remember I was so lit when someone when the first couple people that I didn't know personally followed the podcast account. I was like, fuck yes. And we don't even have any content out yet. So it's cool that they could be bots or whatever, but it's already like picking up a little bit to where people have at least seen it online and are following it even without me knowing who they are. And I see that people are viewing the stories on it that don't follow the account or that I don't know. So I'm glad that it's getting beyond just like the immediate network of people that I know personally. And that first person that I didn't know that followed the account, I was like, yes.
Right. Yeah. I think it'll make you appreciate your following as well. Like if you just keep at it, like you'll appreciate, because like you'll know that everyone is there for this specific reason. Like they're not people who just like had followed Sam Gustafson, and then just kind of, there are people like they literally want to see what you have to say and what you have to put out, in this specific forum that you have, And yeah, I mean that's basically it. I think it'll just be awesome to, and I also think this stuff is kind of like a snowball. Um, I think is like a good way to describe it. Like for most people, I think they like the first 100 to 1,000 followers or subscribers in any of these platforms is the hardest to get.
Yeah,
But once you get it, it's kind of like a snowball. You keep like you roll it, and then you roll it once more. It kind of gets a little bigger. And like once you get big, dude, it's like rolling. You know what
yeah,
I'm saying? But I think that's where most people fall short. Is just before they even get to that point, they quit.
definitely.
They're like, oh, they mean this, like, oh, this isn't working. That's why I was kind of saying, like, most of the people, like you were talking about people who get 10 to 15 likes. It's like a lot of those people, they'll try it for like a week or two and be like, damn, like this Instagram stuff doesn't work, or like no one cares. It's like, dude, you haven't even put in the time necessary. Like why would you expect you to get 100,000 followers in a week or two? You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah,
what are you doing that is worthy of that level of attention? You know what I'm saying? Um,
exactly.
and so, yeah, like I think that decision is great, and I think it's just gonna make you appreciate, it that much more when you get to where you want to be.
I do run into the Kevin Durant dilemma of accidentally posting on the podcast Twitter and shit when I'm trying to tweet from my personal account.
Oh
So
yeah,
the burner
I
isn't
feel
the
that.
burner isn't always the best, but um, I'm getting used to it. One thing I wanted to ask you is just we're both from Louisiana. In what way has Louisiana music or Louisiana rap specifically influenced the way that you think about music or has it?
Um, I mean, people like, Wayne's from New Orleans, like big influence. Kevin Gates, modern times like NBA Young Boys, stuff like that. Um, it's weird though, being from Shreveport specifically. Uh, I don't know. Like it just makes me want to leapfrog forward and just keep pushing the envelope because a lot of people here don't. A lot of people here are stuck. Also like are not in the mindset of like giving to others and just like working together. And that's something like I would like to ideally try to change,
Yeah,
and hopefully like it's kind of like the thing like people aren't going to listen though unless you have a platform and stuff. So I want to build myself up, and then have that platform to kind of like speak on these issues and actually have some sort of authority, on
have
them.
you ever tried to
Um,
reach out to B Will or Hurricane Chris on music?
Yeah, I mean, I used to do sessions with Hurricane Chris and B Will all the time. They would come to the studio to record. Um, yeah, so yeah, I used to do that all the time with both those artists. I've also recorded with people like Mr. Kane, Scotty Kane, other like people from Louisiana will know who they are.
Yeah, do you ever
Um,
see any of that picking back up, like with B Will or any of them?
uh, like in terms of their like, do I see their music getting big,
Their
like bigger,
music
or
getting bigger, or do you see a future where you two work together again?
uh, I don't know, man. I'm not gonna preclude it, but I'm just gonna say I'm really focusing on me right now, like first and foremost. And I think that's another thing, like for people that are starting, just like betting on yourself, like building up your value as much as possible, like building like your quote unquote resume to where like you have, as many skills, as many just like assets, knowledge in terms of knowledge, in terms of whatever you can offer. I think like that's big,
Definitely.
and just having that confidence to just bet on yourself and not have surround your focus on others basically because if you get so focused on that you're going to ignore yourself and what you need to do to kind of get stuff done because at the end of the day no one's going to be there for you but you. So I think that should be like everyone's main priority at the end of the day,
I 100%
which
agree with that.
yeah, which may sound selfish but it just is what it is
I don't
because
think
like I think
it's
you kind of have to be.
selfish. I think it's just realizing that no one else is going to get this thing done besides you. You can't lean on anyone to try to give you a name or give you talent. Like, yes, they could give you a spotlight for a second, but in terms of longevity, investing in yourself is always the right move.
Yeah, and I think it's almost like a precursor to being able to help others. Because like if you put yourself in a great position, like with me, like I know if I get big or whatever, a lot of you know my friends and people like that I've been doing music with for a long time, like I'm gonna actually be in a position to set them up. But if I didn't do the work on myself to build myself up, I wouldn't, have that opportunity to help others, and like put them in positions to win. And so it's kind of like, I think that's kind of like a precursor, to like helping yourself is a precursor to being able to help others.
Definitely. Well, if there was one artist you could choose to work with of any caliber, choose to collaborate with, not just because of who they are, but because you think that what you bring to the table in terms of music and what they bring to the table in terms of music would create like the best fusion, who would you pick?
I'm actually gonna say a producer. I think Kenny Beats would be dope to work
You
with.
and Kenny on the track.
Yeah, I really feel like that collab would be dope, and I feel like we would make some hard shit.
I definitely agree with that. If you had to pick a rapper, who would you pick?
Uh, Man, that's so hard because I like we were talking about the relationships. Like I don't know a lot of the rappers, so it would be strictly just like based off their
Yeah,
music.
yeah. We're just talking about in terms of
Um,
how they sound musically, how you sound musically. What do you
yeah.
like? Who would you make the
Um,
hardest shit with, you think?
hmm. Man, I think Young Thug would be
I
interesting.
definitely agree with
Especially
that.
like his new album was dope. I think that would be, and I've just heard like about him in the studio, and I've heard it's just like I've heard it's incredible to witness. So I would say that I think that would be dope, a dope collab.
Definitely.
You know.
I think you and
So
DaBaby would make some hard shit.
oh yeah, dude. I mean I love that kind of just like bouncy,
Bouncy,
just
bro.
like
He's bouncy. You're bouncy. I think that would
yeah,
be.
yeah. I would love that. I would
But
love
I could
that.
see the Young
So
Thug too, because like a lot of his like surf, very bouncy.
also a kind of upcoming No Cap, that artist, I actually
I
really liked
like
his
No
project.
Cap a lot.
Yeah, I think I would think we could make some dope stuff. Especially because I got the piano background and just like melodic kind of stuff. I think I would love a collab
He
with
could
him.
have picked a better
So
rap name, but his song with Polo G is fire.
oh yeah, yeah, for
No
sure.
Cap is your rap name? Come on, man.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know, but yeah, his music is dope.
It is
So
good.
yeah.
Is there anything else you want to get off in the interview? I think I've run out of all my questions, but if there's anything you want to get off, definitely feel free to take this last period to get out whatever you're working on or whatever you're feeling.
Uh, Man, I think that's pretty much it. I just want to encourage people out there to, you know, don't be afraid to be different. Don't be afraid to reach for your dreams. That shit is out there. That shit is possible. You can do it. It may seem far away, but with the right amount of effort and the right amount, the right mindset, I think, anything is, you can make anything happen. So I think that's really just everything I wanted to say.
Definitely. I think that's a great message to get, especially on the first episode of the podcast, first interview of the podcast. This is not the first recording we've done on the podcast. It will have co-hosts, but both my co-hosts are busy, so I thought, you know, we want to get this interview done, and having a one-on-one interview, I feel like, is even better because it's more of conversation rather than you being bombarded with questions. So I really appreciate you coming on the podcast. I really appreciate everything that we talked about. Y'all go follow JNabs Beats on Instagram. Check out the Facebook as well. Check out Feel So Good. Can you give me the name of the artist one more time?
Senoj, Senoj.
Feel So Good. That's out now. Spotify, Apple Music, anywhere you consume music. And be on the lookout for JNabs' up-and-coming vlog for his new brand, DJ brand, It's Okay. Talked about that a lot on the podcast, but I'll have links for that. He'll have links for that. Definitely be on the lookout.
Definitely, man. Appreciate you for real.
Dude, thank you for coming on. Thanks so much.